address the common mistakes that most teams and organizations do during this PI planning, and which already set them up for failure right from before they even get started. So one pattern that I have noticed in this space is that working with teams, or in the process of me helping teams during PI planning, teams will plan the work to the brim of their capacity. That is, they will top up their capacity, and as a result of that, it will be difficult to conduct any change, or if any unforeseen happens, it's so difficult for the team to stay on track, and now the team will not be able to achieve the goal for that PI because unforeseen will happen. They will find out new things, they will discover new information, they will learn new things, and it will be difficult for them to still be able to achieve the goal, because right from the beginning the goal was already unrealistic, and it will seem like the team failed even though the team did put in their best throughout that quarter. Now let me give you an example. So in the past, I'd worked with one team, right? They usually have a 5-sprint cycle. They have a 5-sprint PI cycle, and I noticed that when they would go for their PI planning, they had actually planned for capacity, which is great. That's one great thing they were doing. They would go for their PI planning, and they will plan work, and they would top up the capacity, and they would not leave any little space for buffer. And we all know the reason why we're doing Agile in the first place is so that we can quickly adjust to unknown, to new findings. As we continue to learn, we want to adjust as we go, you see. So they will do that, and when they go for they start executing in sprints, or what some people call iterations, and they would hardly ever meet the commitment for that PI, because right from day one they've been set up for failure. And what will happen? Management was frustrated, their boss was frustrated, customers were frustrated, the team members themselves were frustrated, because it sounded like they were not being productive, like they've put in their best, but yet it didn't give the result that they intended to, and they were demotivated. Everyone was just demoralized, and they were so pressured, they were burnt out, they were always in a hurry, always in a rush, so that was not helpful at all. So what did I do to fix that situation? And by the way, I would just like to tell you that even though I would say it and it would sound so smooth and straightforward, it wasn't that smooth in real life, because first of all, this environment that I made, they were still very new into this whole Agile thing, and when they decided to transition, they didn't just start with the ordinary Scrum. Which is perfect. Under the Agile framework, they did not start with the ordinary Scrum. They decided to go straight to the safe kind of approach. And we all know that one of the reasons why some people don't appreciate safe is because the way safe is structured, teams and organizations may turn to still be doing waterfall kind of way of working in an Agile space, because of the way safe is structured. Planning for like a whole quarter and then you go execute it. It seems like a semi-waterfall, especially if you don't understand, you don't fully grasp the concept of Agile, you see. And this environment that I found myself, I realized that they were still very new in this Agile space. That Agile mindset wasn't there at all. Some people got it, some people didn't, especially in the leadership space. You know that if they don't have that Agile mindset, whatever you're doing at the team level it's going to be very difficult. So when I noticed this whole struggle, this situation that I just described, I had to reach out to leadership just to understand their perspective and their strategy and what's going on here. And one thing I learned was that they were still in that mindset that they have to work the hell out of their team members, out of the developers, especially because most of the developers were contractors, so they want to make sure that they are earning every little cent they were making, you see. And that wasn't healthy. They will work these people out, they will be burnt out and all of that. So just having a conversation with this leader, that's one thing I found out. They were just focused on, okay, output. Every second counts. They want to make sure that these people are working and they are earning every single dollar. So after having a conversation with this person, I tried to point out some of the negative impact that their current approach is having on the teams. And then what I suggested, what I sold to them was, okay, now that we have 5 sprints in a PI, that's a good start. Teams are actually proactively planning capacity before they go to the PI planning meeting. That is awesome. Now, the little suggestion that I have for you all is that inside this 5 sprints, right, that will be in one PI, why don't we only plan work for 4 sprints? And then let's leave one sprint completely open. And not that it's like open like that. Well, let us plan that for one sprint, we will not be creating new functionalities in that one sprint. That is the last sprint of that PI, the 5th sprint. We will not be creating new functionalities. What we'll be doing instead is the team will plan for work for 4 sprints, and then the last sprint, it's going to be considered as clean up sprints, adjusting sprints, and PI planning sprints. That last sprint, because the next PI planning is coming, before they would not even think about the capacity that they need to plan for the next PI planning. And I mean, especially the prep phase and the PI itself. The PI is 2 days. Who is accounting for that time, for that capacity? So they will not plan for all those things, and then the team will end up overwhelmed, burnt out, because they are trying to just juggle things around, and it was chaotic. So when I said that, that leader was like, okay, something is wrong with you. Nope, I don't think anybody around here would want to hear that. I don't think the other leaders would want to hear that. So I actually met my supervisor, who was the director of software engineering at that time. So he was very hesitant. He said, no, I don't think anyone would want to hear that at this time. So 2 weeks and the team will not be doing anything. I'm like, okay, it's okay. Come to think of it, all of the work that they're already planning in the entire 5 sprints, they still don't deliver. So what's the point? Because I have actually collected my data for the previous 2 PI plannings. You see, so I said, look, this is what we planned and this is what we delivered. Out of the 100% of what we planned, we were only able to deliver 40%. And everything else, were not even touched at all. And another 40% were all in progress. The team was overwhelmed. The team was burnt out, and it was just stressful. So I said, look, what's the point? We planned this and we never deliver it. Why don't we be more empirical based on this data? And again, with the mindset of, we all want the best for the organization. I know that even you want the best for the organization, you see. And with the concept of experimenting, because that's the whole essence of Agile, continuously learn and continuously improve. So based on what we have learned, let's just only consider the 2 PIs that have been here. Let's try this approach. You see, the good news is that it's not set on stone. If it doesn't work, let's drop it. It took me like a whole other PI cycle for this to even be considered. You see, so the message I'm trying to pass here is that when you try to sell something once, twice, and they don't take it, don't just drop it away and like, oh, these people don't like me. No, they don't want to listen, so I'm just going to go with the flow. Remember, as an Agile practitioner, especially a practitioner with a difference, courage, which is one of the Scrum values. You have to be courageous enough to do the right thing. Even if you're the only person on the other side and everyone is going on the other side, as long as you know it's the right thing, stand on that right thing and be patient. I call it great patience, because ordinary patience will not do this thing. It requires great patience. That's just the truth on the ground. So after the whole other iteration, the team still failed. So after the whole other PI cycle, right? And what I suggested was not even taken into consideration, the team still failed. They still failed woefully. But the good news is that I had that data again. I collected that data and I still revisit that conversation with this person. I revisited this conversation that take this to your leadership. Take this to your leadership and just put this out there and let's hear what they would have to say. So he said, okay. And he went and just throw the idea out there, and I was called to come and do a presentation of my approach. I went there, I did a presentation, I sold my approach to them. That is not anything really complex or way far away from what you all are already doing. It's just that it's a little change to be more realistic. So that's my point. I want us to be more realistic and let's be data driven based on the other PI cycles. This is what the team have been able to achieve, you see. So at that point, they didn't even know the average velocity. They didn't even know. So why don't we try to, based on the capacity, we only plan for 4 sprints, work for 4 sprints, and then let's leave 1 sprint, like I already told you. So I saw that and they're like, okay, let's try this. So they were like, okay, let's give you the benefit of the doubt and see what happens. I went back to my team and we implemented that approach. Let me tell you, the team was very happy. The team was so happy about that. I noticed that once they would be in this PI planning, they will plan the work. That means they will sit in that meeting for 2 days, like 2 full days, and they would plan to every nitty-gritty piece of it. They will break down all of their work into user stories, and then they will just fit everything into all of the 5 sprints, fill all of the 5 sprints. And as they start sprinting their work, I would notice that when customers will ask for changes, or changes happen, they learn new things, new findings, there is no way they can adjust to that, and which defeats the purpose of agility. Remember, what's the essence of agility? The pillars of Scrum: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. As they are discovering new things, that's the inspection we're talking about. They are not able to adapt it, which defeats the whole purpose of agility and Scrum. So one thing I suggested to them was, okay, as we go for this PI planning, let's only focus on planning for 2 sprints ahead. Just enough, just in time. Let us plan detailedly for 2 sprints in that whole PI cycle. And then the remaining 3 sprints, let us leave it alone. Not like leaving it alone. Let us not worry about planning in details like that. You see, let us just leave it at the epic or feature level. You see, and then we will be talking about these things in our backlog refinement sessions. We will be breaking down these things, but the goal is that we always want to be 2 sprints of work ahead ready. So that was my suggestion to them, you see. And as we start executing, they would realize that with this approach, these were the 2 key things that I told to them. That is, again, just to recap, number 1, let us only plan work for 4 sprints in that total of 5 sprints in that PI cycle. And secondly, let us not worry about spending 2 full days. People were even burned out. I can tell you, from the 5th hour of the PI planning day, people were not engaged anymore. People were not engaged. They were just pretending to act as if they are there, but people had already checked out mentally. Me too, I'd already checked out. I was just struggling, you see. So with this suggestion, it cut down our planning time, our PI planning time, to 4 whole hours. You see, so we only ended up doing PI planning for 1 day, and within that 1 day, it's not even up to the entire. We will not take the entire day. You see, because we really plan only 2 sprints worth of work in details, and then all the other sprints worth of work we only do high level. We do high level and we leave it at that, and then when we go back at team level and start sprinting our work. The ones that have been planned high level, we will then go into details during our backlog refinement sessions. You see, and when we did that, all of these things that I suggested, the outcome was astonishing. You see, teams were not overwhelmed anymore. They didn't see the need to maybe jack up their capacity for whatever reason. They didn't see no need for pressure like that, and they will actually deliver to their commitment. That is a result change from just delivering 40% to, they tried that for 1 cycle and they were able to, a result increase to 70%. Can you imagine that? You see, and the stakeholders were amazed. Leadership was very happy about that. And that's how we're able to establish that change. And moving forward in the organization, that is how they would plan during their PI. They would just leave 1 sprint and they'll consider that sprint as cleanup sprints. That's how we call it. We call it cleanup sprints, and during that sprint, it's a sprint to proactively start preparing for the next PI, and then clean up, just clean up like you're cooking in your house, and you clean up, just to make sure everything is set and settled. So that is how I've done it, and I was able to deliver value to my organization. I hope this video was helpful, and as always, I appreciate your thoughts. I appreciate your own opinion and your own experience. So how do you do that? Leverage the comment section down below. Drop your thoughts, drop your own experience, so that together we all can continuously learn and grow in this beautiful agile space. Again, my name is Karen from Malfoam. Thank you so much for watching, and talk to you next time.